Fantastic. So, welcome to this morning's session of the 7-Day Business Fuel Challenge. My name is Rebecca Newman. I'm the founder and CEO of the Grow Project, a business training and coaching program specifically for women who want to know how to grow businesses and babies at the same time. This morning, I am joined by Adam Frampton, who is in Melbourne today, but generally resides on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, having moved to Australia a few years ago. And today we get to talk about the fuel of business. And in particular, we're going to talk about these pens that often people see on my Instagram or me scribing in my books with. And we're going to talk about culture as well. And how on earth pens and culture fit together is always an interesting topic, of course. But first of all, Adam is an amazing businessman, and we are going to kick off today with chatting about Adam's story. I thought today we haven't talked a lot about Shirlaw's as a business or the type of people that it attracts Adam. So I thought your story would be a good one to chat about. Adam is the head of the delivery team for the Australian Shirlaw's Grow business, meaning that he mentors and coaches and trains businesses from generally 1.5 million right up to 24 million, and then also some of those captains of industry who are in the 24 million plus category. But Adam, let's start off with your story. The types of people that are attracted to Shirlaw's are phenomenal. Often people who have run very successful businesses themselves. So tell us how you met Shirlaw's and how you came to be then working with Shirlaw's.
Yeah, absolutely. My background is I spent 26 years as an accountant working in London for some of the major firms. And 2000 decided, look, I'm going to do this for myself. Entrepreneurial spirit fired up, and built my own business, built my own practice, grew it from there. And not realizing that there's actually a consciousness we can have around our journey, I jumped in boots and all and grew it from there. It didn't take many years to grow to a point where actually I seem to be spending so much time working in the business that times became quite hard. My team, in my opinion, didn't seem to be functioning as well as they could do. I was working 7 days a week during peak periods, 10, 12-hour days, and getting the exact opposite of the three main reasons most people become entrepreneurs. And those reasons are they want more money, they want more time, and they want far less stress. And quite frankly, I was being paid last. I was working all the hours to make sure the work got done, and stress was through the roof. And there was one Friday evening or Friday afternoon where I decided to crawl up under my desk and just start crying for no apparent reason. And the pressure that was brought to bear was too huge. I just noticed my camera's deciding to move on its own. And that Friday evening also, I collapsed on the floor with chest pains, and I did the man thing of ignoring those. And a friend of mine actually connected me with Nick Rickson, one of our global partners in the UK. So this is all when I was in the UK. And a bit of a long story short, it's about 9 months later, having worked with Shirlaw's on my practice, I ended up doing effectively 1 day a week in the practice, and that was a choice. The team reduced in size slightly, which was great. Lost no clients, and life was back to normal again, and I found myself again in that. So my next question to my coach was, I want to do what you've just done for me for other people. And a few years in the UK doing that with Shirlaw's, and then about 3 years ago, conversation with the then CEOs, Tim, I decided to emigrate with my family to the other side of the planet to help build the business here. And I love what I do.
So tell me about who you work with. Tell me about, I guess, the three main challenges perhaps they're facing. You've certainly outlined the challenges globally that they're after, but maybe you could give us some of the specific challenges you're finding people are facing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we come out of a quaintly called a global financial crisis or recession. It's the biggest depression we've ever known. And essentially what happens during a period of pressure is people focus on the commercial side of the business naturally because you need to survive. So of course it's natural process. And what we tend to do is we tend to ignore the cultural side of a business because it's win at all costs. And mostly we find now, and I'm finding with clients, is it's that tiredness from being through a sustained period of pressure in business. There's financial constraints still, although it's starting to look more positive. Essentially, most conversations tend to come down to a cultural conversation around what's built up in the intervening years, which has filled that void. So that tends to be one of the big pressures. And time, again, one of the things that I struggled with in my business was, where do you spend your time? Where's the most efficient use of that time? So I would say they're two of the bigger problems that we face at the moment, or I hear consistently from clients.
Brilliant. Now, I know you're amazing with culture, and my experience of working with you is multi-level, as my experience in relationships with many people is. I felt very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to work with you both on Newmark Constructions and on the Grow project. And I'd love to share all of those stories, but that was quite a few hours worth of work, so I probably won't share all of them. But I would love to start with talking about these pens, because I think what you've actually talked about has alluded to them. So perhaps we could talk about time, and I have also alluded, as I grab out my pens that I need. So there's a whole stack, and the ones I'm grabbing out are red, blue, black, and green. And the reason, yeah, beautiful. Pre-prepared, something I prepared earlier. Yes, I love it.
And pink.
Yes, of course. Everyone needs a pink pen. So I would love to talk about these, because these relate to time. And then I'd like to talk about this pen and how it relates. And I have mentioned the red, blue, black pens and the red, blue, black concepts in some of the other sessions. And the reason I love the Shirlaw's material is how simple it is. It's like, okay, hang on, you're talking about pens that I can get for, $10, and their connector, and they're kind of fun. And, I can talk to you about all the psychology of why that works. But tell me from a time point of view what these pens have to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So red, blue, black is essentially the three base colours we use. And it hinges on, where do we spend our time in business? Where do business people spend their time? And it's not just about the owners, it's about the whole team and the systems and processes inside the business as well. So we use three colours to indicate each of the three major areas inside a business. And I'll start by defining them just briefly. So we use the colour blue to indicate all time that's spent generating revenue. It's simple as that. We can add into there some marketing time, sales, conversion, sourcing. So the whole blue is revenue. Move to red. Red is all the time that we spend in business, which is what we call infrastructure. It's time which appears to have no value in terms of it's a support time, but it's critical value. Red is the color of blood. It's the lifeblood of the business. We need that time to be able to support the other activities in the business. So HR, IT, accounting, bookkeeping, I can go on. So that's red. And then black. Black is strategic time spent working on the business, not in the business. So strategic time is black time. Now, the balance between those three elements is key. We tend, as human beings, to, at times of pressure and other times, to resonate towards or move towards an activity that we find comfortable inside a business. So my time in business, I would resonate towards red, because as an accountant, that's kind of where I spent my time, and I would avoid the blue stuff. So we have a safety mechanism we can go back to. Essentially, the work we do is to make sure that businesses understand what the balance between the three should be. And I use that term specifically, what it should be. And acknowledge where is the business? Where are you spending your time? Because it's an incredible drain on energy to spend your time trying to force something and to work in an inefficient way. So we establish where someone is. We look at where they can aim to get towards to create the most efficiency at that particular time of the business life cycle, and support them to move things around into place so that the correct balance is there. Now, I mentioned the life cycle, and I mentioned the correct blend at a given time. Now, no business is the same. There are some general themes and trends. Clearly, if we take an extreme example, startup phase in a business needs to focus on blue, needs to get out there and earn revenue. That's why you're there. So if we spent a lot of time strategizing and talking about, wonderful products for the future and we're not going to earn much money, so we won't be there for very much longer. Equally, we can set up some lovely systems behind the scenes and do bookkeeping and make sure that's efficient. But is that the right thing to do? Probably not. So it's about balance and choice.
So of course, then you're missing a pen. Well, first of all, how can people use the pens? Let's do that first, and let's chat about why you're missing a pen.
Yeah, perfect. So what we can do is, and a quick ready reckoner now is actually to look at your diary. Look at how you spend your time in business. How do you spend your time? And actually just give it one of the three colors so you can go through and actually physically, and this is what I did many, many years ago on my diary, was to actually go through and color code. Red, support time; blue, revenue; black, working on the business. And just give yourself a couple of weeks, average weeks. Go through, mark them up, and just see where that blend sits. Now, if you're not earning as much money as you believe you should be, the chances are the focus isn't on blue. And maybe it's one of the other two areas that you might be building for the future, in which case maybe your time's predominantly in the black, and then maybe your time's in the red. Maybe there's things in the systems which need resolving and sorting. So it's about just having a look at where you're at now. Once you've got that picture, actually, a big thing I'd love to throw in at this point will be, it's not about beating yourself up over where you are and what you've done. It's about having an awareness of that and then moving forwards from there. So I became blatantly aware that I wasn't doing much of this. I thought I was doing a lot of the black stuff, but actually I was spending most of my time running around doing this. It hurt when I saw it because my percentages were way off for me, but it just gave me the opportunity to make different choices. And just go easy on yourself, because we won't always be in a perfect world of a perfect blend.
That is definitely something you've taught me. That and choices in business.
There you go. Absolutely.
Awesome. So what's the story with this baby?
Green. And I'll come to pink later. We'll talk about pink. I have to talk about pink every conversation I have about colour pens.
Good idea.
But yeah, green, absolutely. So green, we use green to signify the colour of culture in a business and generally in our lives. So green is the colour that's used for that. So I always carry these 5 colour pens. We'll ignore that for the time being. But green, colour of culture. So looking through one's diary, having a look at where you spend your time, projecting forwards and planning how time is going to be spent percentage-wise with the other 3 colours. I would always start with green. Now, I think your conversation with Tim yesterday, you spoke about contextual calendars. And essentially, you can mark what the year looks like, generally speaking, on a macro level with the colour pens. I will always start with green. So green for me is, what time am I spending for myself, with myself, holiday with family? It's that balance between work and life. So what time, I plug those in first. Then once I plugged it. Yeah, absolutely. And what tends to happen, and to happen with me with my accounting practice, was this became priority. The business function, my business activities took priority. I recall having 1 or 2 weeks a year on holiday, and they were generally recovering from that intensity of this. So I choose to plug in 12 weeks a year of green now for myself and my family. How I spend it is my choice, and it gives me the balance from this.
So what then, Adam, is culture? Because it's a very broad topic. So what is culture, and what is the benefit of culture?
Absolutely. I mean, culture is a huge topic. We could spend months just sifting through every area of it. Essentially, from a business perspective, it's in a yin and yang sense, commercial one side, cultural the other. Every business needs both. It has both. It has a culture. So it's not about creating something that isn't there. It's about taking what's already there and creating it and moving it to where you want it to be. How do you want it to feel working in the business? How do you want clients to feel interacting with the business? How do you want your team, your staff, your associates, your partners, families of staff, etc.? So it's about the feel and the essence of the business. Now, the way a culture functions will accelerate the commercial side of the business. If you have, and there are many examples cited out there of places people love to work and will, crawl over hot coals to go and work, where the culture is awesome. So if you create consciously a culture which is attractive, which is positive, and these are very subjective terms, but essentially you create the culture you're looking for in your business. You're actually creating an environment around yourself and around your team which is conducive to whatever your value system is. I run full-day workshops. We can run full-week workshops on culture in organizations and teams. And I think the big thing that shows up for me is where there's a desire to create a culture, to create one. There already is one. But essentially, what people try to do is define it and then come back to their business. They've been on a retreat or whatever. They come back to their business and then they start. And by the way, I'm going to own some of this because I did this in my practice years and years ago. I wrote down new values and new ways of behaving, pinned them on the walls all around the office and said, there you go, guys, this is what you're going to do. Well, that's not creating a culture. That's me telling them what I want them to do. And there's no buy-in at that point, generally speaking. So the priority and the most important fundamental fact of culture when creating it is to actually include everyone in the business. Absolutely everyone. It's sometimes a challenge for entrepreneurs because we all have that, we know best. We created this baby and it's ours. But the alchemy of running culture days and exploring what a value system is around giving a space, creating a space for choice amongst everyone and everyone contributing. And without exception, the end result from those sessions is a culture which is shared and integrated through everyone in the business, which is keenly guarded and not defended, that's the wrong word, but essentially people sign up to it, they align to it. And there's a certain element of self-selection where people don't necessarily fall in line with it and decide, make a different choice, and that's fine. Get it wrong, and we've seen lots of examples of that in the commercial world. Get it right, and the whole business journey becomes really easy. It accelerates the journey. So you'll see in a lot of our frameworks, culture is an underpinning accelerant.
I think it's just the amazing, that alignment of that energy and what that creates. And I've certainly been in a whole raft of different cultures from the time when I was working on the Olympics, when it's a very time-driven piece, and I was particularly working on the cultural events for the city and looking at the way we could engage the community in that way, and to look at what cultural pieces we wanted to put in play to attach to the actual events themselves. And then say the culture of working at the Institute of Sport and what it's like to see all the elements of what they put into the culture of training an elite athlete or developing an elite athlete, and then the culture of business. And so understanding what is the vision and the mission of the team and how does that actually play out every day, and in words that you can embody. And I know when I moved to one of the infrastructure construction companies and worked with them, I still remember their phrases. And at first they blew me away and I was like, okay, well, that's unusual, but that really makes sense to me. And I don't quite know how it fits in exactly with how you deliver, but it didn't matter. And what it meant was that people aligned with those elements. And I still remember they were all about two words. They were about creating extraordinary. And that's what it felt. And I could always come back to those words about what were we doing. Everything had to be about creating extraordinary. And especially from a leadership point of view, it was important that I led from creating extraordinary. So I think the way you feel in those scenarios and how that helps your performance and how that helps your energy is just amazing. And I guess for me also, whilst I was creating extraordinary, I was also creating extraordinary long hours. And I didn't have much of this. I gave it to everybody else. I cared for everybody else in my team immensely. I would make sure that I looked after them as the leader of that team. However, now, instead of doing 100 hours a week, I do 100 hours a year, because I guess principally I get this right. And this is different to me for every single person. And I think probably the other biggest thing is I used to spend time on holidays and stuff a little, not as much as I would like to, but mostly that it is the balance of what I do for me. And also what I do with the others who are important in my life. And I think that's also, Adam, about the printable that we have for the challenge, and all the different areas, that can affect the fuel in your system. And the reason we had these 5 that were left open was different things fuel different people. And likewise, whilst the playtime is I've really realized the benefit of play, I've also really realised that business is really important to me, and intellectual stimulation. And likewise, when I first met all the Shirlaw's crew and was kind of like, okay, these guys have got these amazing frameworks, but who are the people? And when I met you in the Hunter Valley, and to just see and feel the energy that sat behind all of the intelligence and to be hanging out with such smart business people and such accomplished business people and having those diverse conversations was really heartening, because it was not a lot, it's still not, in general, an arena that I'm in. I'm not out talking to a lot of business owners other than when I'm in the coaching space. So it was really nice to come and meet people like you and actually share the journey, I guess. And the insights you've provided for our business have been immense. And also, I guess one of the other things is, Adam, you've taught us a lot. You've taught us a lot about what we can take out and talk to other people, and we can explain it we can explain it. And I guess the other thing why I find it so clever is the mathematics and how it all ties back, and and how you can create the system around it, which makes it very tangible for people to work on.
Absolutely.
Now, you and I could go on forever. Have I missed any key questions? Is there anything else you'd like to talk to us about?
I actually really quickly just want to leave something for people to watch this, which is you talk about system and we talk about culture. And what naturally happens is a logical brain will say, and I put myself in that category years ago, is how can you systemize a culture? The truth is, you're not going to systemize the whole culture, but what you can do is use some really simple mechanisms just to give yourself a bit of a head start. So I would consider the layers of the starting point from a culture as being, the top level is, what's the purpose that your business or you are looking to create in the world? So for Shirlaw's, it's changing people's lives. That's why we do what we do. It's why I do what I do. So we have the purpose, the intent. And below that sits the values. And you can have as many values as you like. Keeping them to small in number is manageable. So we have 3 values that sit below that. And then underneath that will be your behaviors. So we have purpose, intent, values, and then behaviors. And the behaviors are, how do we know, or how do I behave in line with the values and the intent? So what behaviors must I exhibit, but could I exhibit to be in line with those? And the last one isn't an activity, it's impact. So I may believe I'm in line with my intent, acting in line with my values and behaving as such, but if the impact is contrary to that, that's the feedback loop for me to say, well, what do I need to change to move in line with that? Now, if you can create what those 4 layers look like, that's a really simple way of starting off a conscious culture in an organization. And it's not about the stick to say, this is our culture, you will abide by it. It's about, this is the culture. Let's all jump into the pool of the culture together and create this and grow this and evolve this together.
So now we've really missed out on the pink pen.
So my pink pen, really quickly, I carry this everywhere. I also wear pink when I'm presenting. I always do. The pink pen for me is my anchor for something has gone really well for a client I'm working with, be it in a coaching space, a consulting space, or training, my pink pen comes out, and that's when I make the notes. So for me, my anchor for pink is something's gone really well. I anchor that with clients so that I don't need to say that's good or it's done well. I just pick the pink pen up and people instantly recognize that in me. And if I'm feeling like something inspirational has happened in my life, I'll use my pink pen to write it down.
Awesome. Now I'm just going to check the question box. Mm-hmm. What color does, okay, we got that one covered. What color is for marketing?
Marketing, okay, so it depends on the nature of the marketing, okay, and that's a very broad answer, but essentially I would put that as blue, because the direct effect of marketing is increasing sales activity. So I would put that as blue. Now, the caveat to that is it could be in a black space if you're looking at a strategic marketing campaign for a business, which is going to take it through, and I believe Tim may have spoken about jump, levels of jump. So it could be in a black space. If someone is administering marketing, could be in a red space, but predominantly it's blue activity.
Awesome. As I mentioned, you have taught us a lot in our business. And one of the greatest things you taught us was actually about choice and exit. And I know Lindsay and Tim both mentioned exit. And I know that Shirlaw specifically assists people on growing, funding and exiting. And I remember sitting in the car with you and you saying to Tim and I, to Mark and I about Newmark, what is your exit plan? And we were actually, well, we hadn't really thought about exiting. And what you helped us to do was understand about exit and choice. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was really about cups and cups of water and what's our capacity and the way that you're able to describe that. So I would love to explore that on our podcast in the coming weeks and chat about those things, because I love the way you have the understanding of the numbers and the red side of things as your natural space and your history, I guess, and how you translate that now into culture. And we just find it incredibly powerful. And I personally have had a lot of coaching from you and found it to be incredibly powerful and very grounding and very practical so that I can really get on and do it. I guess for me, the Grow Project very much is about infrastructure, because it's what I find a lot of people are missing. It can be very transformative in their business, and often that's where we actually start, is looking at the infrastructure or the foundations of the business and how that can provide some quick wins around the productivity side of things. So there's multiple frameworks in the Shirlaw side of things which cater to that, including capability, capacity, functionality, and those kind of foundations in a business, which unfortunately a lot of people aren't taught, hence why you're coming and meeting them multiple years into a business and they have such an impact. So I look forward to discussing those things with you on a future podcast, and also in further at our in-person events, either at the Grow Lab or the Grow Experiment. So thank you very much, Adam. I would probably be doing a disservice to those people who've been listening to all of our sessions if I didn't ask you what your top 5 fuels were, because I've asked each presenter what their top 5 fuels are. So what are your top 5 fuels in life?
My value, my purpose rather in life is to love. That's my pink pen comes up again now. So number 1, if I'm in that space and if I believe I'm honest to that, that's my top one. My 3 values I'm going to throw into the mix. Relationship, always looking for a relationship and connecting with people. Abundance is I give first. And my 3rd value is fun. If there's a tick against those 4, I'm very, very happy. And I love what I do. And I love creating that space of choice for people in business to explore, come out of their comfort zone for a while, but in a safe way, to just look back at their lives and their business and create different choices. So they're my 5. I'm going to add a 6th because what should have come first was my family, clearly.
And you're amazing at all of those things, and you are incredibly committed to your family. And I know your family, and I've had the beautiful fortune of meeting your family, as you have had to mine. And you've had very big impact on our family and on my children with your humour, and to the extent that if you meet my children, you might find them, if they ever say far out, it'll be far out, Adam, because they said it one day in the car and they just think it's hilarious. So yes, I get to think of you regularly whenever far out comes up, because it's always about you. So thank you very much for being part of our business stories, for both Newmark and for the Grow Project, and a wonderful business colleague for me. I enjoy working with you immensely, as you know. I affectionately call you my brother, because normally you and I have lots of giggles, and which I didn't know if our listeners would be keen for today. But they will get to see us in action together, and it's wonderful to bring that joy into business as well, and that playfulness and that energy.
Yeah, it's my absolute pleasure, and it's great to be here today and to share. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So I hope everybody has enjoyed today's session and seen how the cultural side of things and the time side of things can fuel your business, giving you an opportunity to look at how you do actually spend your time in your business and how you want to be spending your time in your business. We are, of course, the Grow Project, and if you would love to keep on track with our journey, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Sign up for the challenge printable by jumping onto our website, which I'm sure there'll be a link jumping up in the live chat box, which is RebeccaNewmanOnline.com.au/events. You can also keep an eye on all of our events on our events page, whether it be the one-day Grow Lab experience or one of our experiments where we take you out for a couple of hours and do things like walking in a labyrinth or going on a trapeze. If you do want to access our freebies, please make sure you're signed up for the challenge. Today's an amazing day of amazing speakers, and I hope you'll join us again in a couple of hours. Thank you very much, and ciao for now. Bye, Adam.
Bye.